Hey, good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for joining us here at the Center for Puerto Rican Studies, specifically here at the Center for Puerto Rican Studies Library and Archive for another library lunch hour. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce Leenda Bonilla, who will be um, the subject of our library lunch hour today. Linda was someone who applied and successfully was granted the Artistic Research Residency program here at Centro, and this is a program that Centro um, has launched in order to reach out to artists and have them work with material at Centro to produce artistic content. And again, for those of you that might be joining us for the first time, um, I'm Aníbal Arocho. I'm the library manager here at the Center for Puerto Rican Studies Library and Archive. We're located at 119th Street and 3rd Avenue. We encourage you to come visit. We are open to the public Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And our library lunch hour series is where we do introduction to researchers, and different resources that are available at the Center for Puerto Rican Studies. And I definitely want to introduce Leenda Bonilla. She's gonna take over for a little bit, and she's going to share her experiences being a member of the Artistic Research Residency program, including like what her proposal was and what her research methodologies were. So Leenda, please take it away.
Thank you, Anibal. Good afternoon, everyone. It's nice to see you, even though I can't see you all in virtual land. And thank you for joining us today for an opportunity for me to share with you my research with having the opportunity to access El Centro archive. So I'm going to share my screen. Give me a second. Okay, everyone. So can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, excellent. So I'm Leenda Bonilla, and I am actually trying to make sure that I can see. I'm trying. Sorry. This is the power of internet and having two screens at the same time. So I just want to make sure that my image is not can be seen. So I'm going to minimize. Okay. I'm Leenda Bonilla. I am a visual artist, arts and cultural producer, and I specialize in civic engagement and more art making practices. So when El Centro had their call for artists to access their archive, I found this a wonderful opportunity to visit somewhere that I've always had great desire to just to learn more about my people or our people living in New York and Island and beyond. So I've tagged on the saying diasporican, and that's how I identify myself. Let me see, I'm trying to, okay, sorry, there's a delay. So this is just an overview of my life so far. I've had the opportunity working as an artist. I've been able to channel through certain sectors. I started off in magazine publishing. I worked at certain titles up over here. And I moved into nonprofit as an arts and cultural manager and producer, having produced amazing cultural events that was intergenerational and also focused on Latinidad, Latine, Latinx arts. And then I moved over, taking that background of community and development into public service, working at several agencies. I'm currently at the New York City Civic Engagement Commission. But as you can see on the bottom of the screen, that my life in art is continuous. It's been here as the baseline of what I do with myself professionally. So my research that I applied to El Centro to do was called, it's tentatively titled Filling in Nuestras Untold Stories. Tentative title, it's a visual narrative that seeks to fill history at the timeline of Puerto Rican women, girls living in the mainland and the island from 1972 to 2022. This was a piece that was inspired by Faith Rangel, who created a beautiful, powerful piece called The United States of Attica, founded in 1972. And there is a portion of her print here where she says that she understood that this map of American violence was incomplete, and that please write in whatever you find lacking. And it was from that's what inspired me to do this project. So having access to the archive has been just an amazing experience to just understand what's happening with the diaspora Rican on the mainland in all the states. But coming into that, I'm also, while I am doing the physical research, I'm also doing oral histories as well, gathering and bringing awareness, and the hopes to rebuild a installation piece that reflects the continuation of untold histories, and that to bring to light and to share in an exhibit. So one thing I've learned is that I needed to start simple. You have all these amazing ideas, but for me, understanding access to books is the challenge. And I'm sad to say that is something that is present today. Having seen the banned books weekend over sponsored by the New York PL libraries and other academic institutions, and I had several colleagues that had shows that talked about banned books, I felt like it was important to bring to light how much books are so imperative in terms of like sharing history, sharing knowledge. And so I wanted to start with books, and I had the pleasure of Anibal to introduce me from colonia to community, and just to give myself a baseline to understand the journey that took place from Isla to here since the colonization. And then from there, I moved on to periodicals and essays and excerpts from the archive, and I'm still reading. So if you want to see my project, it's still in progress, which is something to bring to light, because art does not have a hard deadline unless you have an exhibition the next day. But this is going to be work that I gathered to keep continuing reading and just learning from it to build out, as in addition to the stories that I'll be working with from the women that I interview. And some books that I have gathered in my research, I've took pictures. You could take a peek. I know I had the opportunity to share feedback and do an exit report. So I have an extensive list that I could share with you if you're interested. That includes books that you see here, as well as periodicals and articles and essays that really, really resonated with this project that I am working on. So Ani, let me see. I guess we can come back to this, but actually, no, we could pause here, Anibal, if you want to just like talk to me and help me guide my thoughts to just like talk about this research. So
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I was really, it's always fun when we get to engage with people of different disciplines and different backgrounds. And you really summarize it's like a lot of times when you come into a research institution and a library and an archive such as ours, you need to establish what you call as like that base, right? Like you need to establish the scaffolding of what is going to hold up your artistic production, essentially.
Correct.
And a lot of times it's like you don't know what you don't know, right? And it's like you come in with a lot of notions about what you want to do, and then you come face to face with the reality of what it is that you actually need to research to actually to do what you're going to do.
Yes.
Can you so we saw a summary of your proposal. Can you give us a little bit of reflection on what it was like coming into Centro and conducting your research, and just in general, like how you approached it?
Sure. So having been selected to do the residency based on this project, I just came with an understanding that, I don't know what I don't know. So it's about being open and flexible and learning the systems that are in place. I'm not a professional academic, so therefore with your guidance and Lindsay, you both were able to help me and you to just help me pick out. I think what I've done was sketch out themes that was related with the topic. And then I did like a cold search through the computer, and also just you have books around in the research center itself. So having the opportunity to look at the
No
books
shortage.
too was just so amazing. And it felt so great holding the books in my hand and then asking for access to make copies, like making copies now is such a,
Mhm.
everybody's so digitally focused, but I have to say for me, I like to process holding the paper in my hand. I guess that's my magazine background talking, but just
Mhm.
seeing it for yourself and being able to hold the pages and just coming up with the key connectors of history that I felt that resonated with my research. For me, because it was both focused on feminist women, feminism, and just trying to keep in light of the women that were integral, those that were recorded in history, those that are silent. It's like a whole big. That's the process right now. So you gave me access to dive into Lolita Lebron, Julia Le Burgos, Juana Colon, Blanca Canales, Luisa Capetillo. Like those were women that of course, Lolita Lebron is more, I would say a lot of people, not everybody knows about her, but the other women that I just said, like to get more information about who they were and how it resonates, I want to say in a ripple effect that affects my life today as a Boricua in New York City and also generations behind me. So it was just pretty amazing to see and seeing words that talked about their history, that talked about the struggle and the effort that they did. And just because in this day and age, like understanding that not all information is real in the midst of fake news, this is an opportunity where I see and reliable sources that can help me establish that baseline to start bridging out and then hearing about and then going to speak to other women who knew of these other women, knew of their legacy, and then how it interrelated with themselves. And so in short, it is a big fabric that I am weaving, a big tapestry of
Mhm.
these lives and how they intersect nationally as a diasporican, and then how it touchstones back onto the island itself. So
Can you
um,
expand a little bit upon like some of the themes that you were able to come up with based on the research that you were conducting?
sure. Just being, let's see, I remember imagining the great Puerto Rican family, just
Mhm.
talking about how since the Jones Act, or, how that forced migration for most, but then for some, like understanding both journeys and how when it reached to the US and how it how it played out depending on economics and status and class. Let me see, Mainland Passage is another PDF that I got access to,
Mhm.
understanding Puerto Rican mothers, relief and home. That
Mhm.
was something. So I went from like macro to micro. It was a constant flux just because,
Mhm.
and it was really because I was so impassioned by it. I was just like, I have to focus,
Mhm.
start with the small, keep going. And then I'll just earmark the things that I know that will probably make those kind of like continual connections with the project that I'm going to be building out. Let me see, a study of culture in modern Puerto Rico, a
Mhm.
comparative study of the effect of social and economic change upon three Puerto Ricans. I mean, it is such a dense archive that once you go into one theme, as in women and
Mhm.
social justice, accessibility, economics, and just pure history
Mhm.
of migration, there's just so many things that just can evolve from it. And which is why I say I'm still working on this.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you say is very true. That you do a lot of times you do start with like a germ of an idea and then it sort of expands upon based on what the different resources that are put before you.
Yes.
Um, I'm particularly interested in the lens that you approach it of women, girls, and feminism, um, because there's no shortage to the struggle and amount of suffering that's been placed upon Puerto Rican women throughout history. Um,
Correct.
and I think that's something that we need to continue to keep in the spotlight. you know,
I agree.
what has been demanded of Puerto Rican women over the course of the 20th and now the 21st century is nothing short of, amazing. When you think about, they were the leaders of the home. In many cases, they were the community builders. They were the founders. In addition to being like the bedrock of their own families, they were the bedrock of the communities. All
That's
during
awesome.
a time where they had to face issues of, violence within their homes, violence being inflicted upon them by society. We had the issues of women being experimented upon with uh, birth control, women being forced to have sterilizations, um,
Yes. I
and
mean,
and also,
yes, no, you were touching on really, really critical and cruel histories. And um, we have such a short time frame to talk about it, but you do, like, those are the discoveries did find. And then
Mhm,
understanding like how it affects today in
sure,
contemporary, like understanding the fractured family,
mhm,
the structural family infrastructure, the disconnection from the island and then you migrating west or even to other continents, and just
right,
understanding how vast this, colonization has affected our people. And then understanding that most of this history and most of our lives have been still, our culture has been saved by many women who have persevered, or just like whether it's just being in the kitchen, being there present for you, or doing that and multitasking. Like my
mhm,
mom was a small business owner,
mhm,
and she still was very active in, socially with politics. And it was really challenging because during that time, you don't, as a child, you just want to be, and that, but then you realize that there's so much more richness when you're hearing about women and young women that are just constantly keeping into sustaining culture,
mhm,
understanding histories, and not becoming homogenous. I mean, I think that is the big thing that my mom imprinted on me, is just that we're not, yes, we are American, but my heritage, my being is Boricua, it's Puerto Rican and
right,
diasporican. I'm here on the mainland. Yes. And just trying to bring out those nuances and how it's so subtle, sometimes painful, but then also elevating and just showing that we're only continuing the journey what our ancestors started with, you know,
right.
recognizing Indigenous Day yesterday. So,
I when
mhm.
I think, when I was looking at the body of research that you were doing and the books that you were using, and obviously I suggested, I gave you nudges in different directions, of course. Um, uh, but what I saw was Puerto Rican women as problem solvers.
Yes,
Um, and all of that is the evidence of that is something that I'm proud that it's in our archive.
yes.
So when parents were having difficulty getting heard in the South Bronx, we have people like Evelina
Evelina Antonetti.
Antonetti
Yes,
creating United Bronx Parents, you know. And we have the documentation of that stuff is like amazing. She literally was like, "This is what you need to ask your teachers about your children's work," and she was empowering the young mothers in that community to speak up. And she was like, "It doesn't matter if you don't speak the language. It's like they need to help you." And then
exactly.
even right now in our reading room, we have an exhibition of Antonia Pantoja, and we're talking like someone else who saw like there was like huge gap in higher educational attainment. Um,
Yes,
and how do we bridge that gap? And she's like, well, we need an organization that's going to go ahead and model for these young students like what it's like to be a successful um, academic, right? So
yes.
and we can go on like we have the
We
papers of
can, we
Pura Ventre
can.
and stuff
You
like
know
that.
how
It's like
time
that's
is.
like a whole other that's a separate library lunch hour.
Yes.
Um, but
The key
I
thing
want
to
you to
know,
I
yeah.
want you to reflect if you can if you can share with us a little bit what your how has working with the materials of Centro affected you as an artist going forward?
So thank you for that. So I want to say, just rounding that, yes, we could talk about the women that help build foundational work to resolve issues. But I guess what the critical need is now is just to keep sharing those stories of resistance and teaching everybody, but also recognizing the struggles. And I don't think there's not enough out narrative that really articulates the struggle and the subtlety and the racism that Puerto Rican women suffer and endure to today. So, but yes, highlighting the women that help bridge those gaps to show pa'lante, you won't take our spirit. So that's just key. I guess that's what has come from my experience at El Centro, is just having been immersed in all of this amazing history and articles and essays. It just makes me feel like there's the need to just share this with our people, to just let them understand. And I think for me, it'll translate more with visual art projects and interdisciplinary projects with other friends and colleagues who too feel like our stories need to be shared, and not through a lens of like high art. Like, we're talking about community-based work that really touches community, that elevates community, and just keeps on building the history of our people here.
Certainly. So you're saying that working with working with the materials sort of put that into more of a relief? Like, did you gain a greater
Yes.
appreciation?
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for that. I tend to be like, I feel that that's what it's done exactly. It's helped reinforce my sentiment about doing social conscious work, social practice that talks about our history. Because, let's face it, our community is smaller here in New York City. And so therefore, it's kind of that old kind of American thinking like, oh, well, we've made it or we moved on. I'm like, no, not really. There's so much more to go through and to really talk about. And so El Centro Archives really helps me like bind that sentiment, and that, I want to say, genetic memory. Like, there's things that I still don't understand about my heritage that school and sometimes home can't share enough about. So I felt that going into the books, going into the articles, I really found some self-discovering ideas about my feelings about who I am as a diasporican, and how I want to just keep building upon it,
I think you touched upon something really powerful there. In that the fact that while you are, and your task as part of this residency program to produce research and to produce an artistic product, it is ultimately a journey of self-discovery, right? Almost more so than it is a journey of artistic production.
Yes.
And I think that's across disciplines. Like, we have people who are economists and people who are like cultural anthropologists, and I think they've echoed your sentiment in the past, that it does become a journey of self-discovery. It almost has to be a journey of self-discovery before it becomes anything else.
Absolutely, Anibal. I mean, having run into a couple of people who were also researching based on, whatever their projects were, it was wonderful to connect with them as well. And I've kept in touch with a couple that I've met during my time at El Centro. Just reestablishing that yes, we are in different channels, like you say, like an economics researcher, or
so you're talking like just people that you met while you were doing research in the reading room?
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the process, is like the serendipitous nature of like, you'll never know who you're going to run across in the reading room.
Yes. It was just so amazing.
Yeah. I mean, your mileage may vary on that, because like some people are definitely like much more, like, you are very outgoing and like you like to have conversations with people and things like that. Yeah, that's actually a part of the experience that I think a lot of people don't think about, is that, yeah, like when you feel like you might have like reached a dead end or something, but like there are people who've done research or are doing similar research who might be sitting like in a table across from you. So
Absolutely.
that's always a possibility.
Yes.
Um, I definitely want to know like what the future holds for your project, and what you feel your next steps are.
So I understand that this research was just, I feel like I made a good dent, but I
Mhm.
still have a lot of work to do.
Sure.
And I think what the beauty of this residency has afforded me is the opportunity to build a relationship with El Centro and to
Mhm.
keep that dialogue of accessing the archive, to just keep building out that ultimately that installation that I envisioned in my head,
Sure.
where I see community gathering together to see, like, just to witness what was sourced from research and from just working with community members, and to this conceptual piece that I will produce.
Sure.
It means a lot. Yeah.
And prior to your work at Centro, did you have much experience working in any libraries, archives, or other research institutes?
Well, I did my undergrad at
Mhm.
Pratt, at the Pratt Institute. I mean, I'm sorry, not my undergrad, my grad
Mhm.
at, and so during my capstone project, I actually did tap into El Centro then when you were at
Okay.
68th Street.
Right
So,
on. Right on.
and then that was just like, it was just like, whoa, where have I, this is like a Mecca. I have never, I mean, it was just amazing just having gone there. And it was from there that I was able to source my thesis. And then since I left grad school, like most of my research is usually like
Mhm.
what I do on the internet or
Mhm.
what I do in like an occasional I guess like occasional library or two.
Mhm.
But since then, no, but having the opportunity to come to El Centro on 119th and going and just saying hi to you and just being able to just go and just not, just being welcomed in to just access materials that I still know there's so much for me to just untap. It was a wonderful experience, but like I said, I'm no academic, but this is an opportunity for me to just really hone in and just deepen my skills and like the vision that I have to
Right.
produce the work that I want to do. And I see an ongoing relationship with El Centro to just keep working on projects that I have in my head
That's
and that
great.
I have drafted. Yes.
That's fantastic. I mean, I look forward to that.
Thank
Um,
you.
and our time here is going to draw to a close, so I do want to open it for question and answer. Um, I'd like for you to, I mean, Centro isn't the beginning and end of your research and your work, but I'd love for you to share some of your other upcoming projects and some of the other work that you've done. So, do you have any slides or anything that you'd like to share for
Sure.
that?
Oh, thank you, Anibal. Yes, I do. Let me go dig it up real quickly. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. Do you see the screen?
It says it's starting to scare the share.
Okay. Let's see. Going to stop the share. I'm going to try it one more time.
Sure thing. And if not, if it doesn't work, you can just tell us and point us in the right direction too.
Sure. So I have this Thursday coming up. I am in a group show at a gallery space called Bronx Art Space, which is
Mhm.
over by 700 Maneira.
Mhm.
The theme is ancestral foods, family feasts. It's a wonderful exhibition that just touchstones on. I reflect upon my experience with my mother and my ancestors, the foods that were in my house, that the foods that I continue to produce. And I took I have ollas that I have had in my family that I inherited. And I decided to elevate them into a conceptual piece because I don't want to cook from them, but I do want to elevate them. And it's a part of another part of the installation work. That's this Thursday, October 12th from 6 to 8 p.m.
Right on.
And then coming on Friday is it's called Art in Odd Places, the Art in Odd Places Festival, which takes place on 14th Street. And this is where I'm
Mhm.
going to premiering another project that I had been envisioning, but now with the work and the inspiration from El Centro, I was like, I'm doing it. It's called the Bata Project.
That's
And
awesome.
the Bata, for those of you that do not know, it is for me the Puerto Rican house dress. That is
Okay.
the traje. That is the dress that you wake up and you see mommy cooking in. You go to your abuelas. I mean, it's their uniform. It's the
Right.
uniform that we are celebrating. So art in our places, their theme this year is called dress. And so with
Mhm.
the Bata project, I invited friends and colleagues and fellow artists to join me to do a catwalk with batas that I have collected since my 20s.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know. It started in my 20s because I was privileged to have the opportunity to be La Guagua area. I was able to go back and forth to the island since I was 3. But in my 20s, I started just buying batas. And then I inherited batas when my mother passed in 2018. And so this is an opportunity to celebrate and elevate the women and the transatlantic journey that has taken place from, you know, since colonialism and the Jones Act. But
Right.
these dresses resonate power and happiness
Mhm.
and just whatever you envision it. I mean, for me as a Boricua, it was that comfort and also that amazing maternal vibe that my mom just did and shared. I'm going to see if I could try to share this image one more time so that everyone could check it out. But
Okay, well, while you're, I mean, if you want to, while you're trying to share the image,
yes,
we do have a couple of questions.
go ahead.
Um, there we go. The image is there. So while this is on the screen,
Yes,
let's try to get to a couple of questions here.
yes.
Um, so we have one question, um, that is about basically your methodology, and you see that's a great photo of the women in the batas. That's so cool.
Thank
Um,
you.
how
Those are
much
my
time?
artist friends. Yeah. Go ahead.
So someone wants to know, how much time did you spend at Centro Archives? How did you decide how much of what you accumulated or read was enough per day? So that's like a specific, how do you know when you're done for the day?
Oh, well, during my time, it was like 3.5 months. I segmented time for like my Thursdays and Fridays to be over at Centro.
Mhm.
So I want to say based on the book, so Anibal and I had a great rapport with each other that I would take books that I want to look at and he'll just be like, okay, just put them over there. Don't worry about it. Nobody's going to touch them. So I didn't have that kind of like tensive, that tensiveness to be like, oh, I got to finish this book and pass it back. No, it
Mhm.
was there for me to just continue. So that's why I think the beauty of this residency, which I think ultimately just builds relationship with creatives like myself and
Mhm.
community with El Centro, is that there's no ending timeline for me. But I
Mhm.
know that I have brought and copied a lot of pages that I'm still looking at in my studio. So I'd probably have to I'm reserving time on the average at least 5 hours a week to just keep going through the
Yeah.
research that I have started, just to be, because uh, my life is split. We multitask. That's what
Mhm.
we do. And so I felt that, yeah, it's not done. I mean, I guess I will share with you the minute I have everything all done. The next set, I guess the next base would be like just like drafting the the work to then just like then implement it. But ultimately, yes, you will all be invited to see the installation once it's complete. But yeah,
Right.
I
That
guess would
that that
say,
um that
yeah,
Ringgold inspired map that
correct.
you
That
wanna
I'm going to infuse like with, I guess, my diasporicanness. It's
sure.
going to have a little different look to it, but
Yeah,
it's a
maps
very
are powerful for sure. And so there was a question that was like, what information are you looking for specifically? And it seems like you cast a fairly wide net. So
Mhm.
would you say there's like something that you were digging for specifically, or you were just like in this like gathering mode?
Well, I would say the first 2 months was a lot of gathering. And I think right now what I'm looking for is trying to find histories nationally about
Mm,
Puerto Rican women and girls and
mm,
what's happened to them. And so that's like a digger deep, that's a deeper dive into like national periodicals and
mhm,
also word of mouth. And then having a network like NALAC, uh,
mhm,
National Association for Latino Arts and Culture, is also a great way to like build out. And also Pepatien is another organization that
Sure.
really supports artists, visual artists, and choreographers to elevate, their work that ties into histories. But yeah, it's an odd, like I said, 3 months is not enough. It's like this is
Yeah,
like something
I
like
was
this.
surprised
Yeah,
how quickly the time went by as well. Yeah.
it just flew, unfortunately. But like I said, the relationship is here, and I'm looking forward to just keep building it.
So we have a couple more questions, and then we're going to do a little housekeeping.
Sure.
So we'll try to do our best to get through these in a timely fashion.
Yes.
Um, Someone asked, when exploring the archives, was there anything you came across that surprised you?
Hmm. I want to say, oh my goodness, what's there that doesn't surprise me? There was, ah, I want to say that, okay, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I found like, I remember asking you, I was like, Annabelle, do you have any research about batas? And he was like, what?
Yeah.
So so I just started looking fashion, Puerto Rican fashion, history, culture, and all that. And I found an article about Norma Kamali, and she talked
Uh-huh.
about Puerto Rico. And I was just
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
So don't ask me right now to say verbatim what it was, because I'm just a little bit nervous. But
Uh-huh.
just having found like the connectivity of fashion with, and how I can connect it to bata and history, and that this is a type of fashion history that needs to be explored and elevated and recognized, bringing to light this narrative of this woman that does this transatlantic journey and dealing with everything that's hitting us our way in terms of, you know, just raising kids, jobs, no job, just like all that. But yeah, that was one piece that really still stands out for me. And then just discovering more of the Puerto Rican women who I don't know as well, because I didn't formally study Puerto Rican history. Now I feel like this is an opportunity for me to really dig into that. And then comparing who I know today and my contemporaries, that's like a whole new history to just start building and bridging out as well.
Hmm. And this question is just more about, the expectations of the residency project. It's someone says this is helpful, so thank you, and that they're excited to see how your work and research takes shape.
Thank
And they're
you.
asking, is there an expectation on the output of the artistic residency at Centro? The expectation is more on the the research process and research methodology. So the idea is the creative result should be informed by the work done in the Centro Library and Archives, using um, research sources that might be non-traditional to people who engage in the arts. Um, we're really looking towards highlighting the research process of our community of artists across different disciplines. Um, and for those of you that are more interested and want to learn more about the artistic research residency program, um, there is a link in our arts and culture section of our website where you can learn more about it, including when they do the next open call. So if you are interested and would like to come and conduct research and be a part of this program, you can feel free to apply. Um,
Yes, do it.
yeah, so we have glowing endorsement from Leenda. And then just to, we literally have like 1 minute left. And so one, I want to thank Leenda Bonilla again. Thank you so much for being a great patron, being very cool and very dedicated to what you were doing. And putting in the work, being here like all those days and all those hours and asking a lot of great questions, and engaging with the resources in a really meaningful way. That it means a lot to me as a librarian to see someone who throws themselves with so much passion and vigor into it. And I also am really looking forward to what the final project ends up being. I think your vision, your artistic vision is really interesting, and I like all the projects about that project. I think is so
Thank you.
cool. Um, and if anyone who was participated today in our library lunch hour wants to come and conduct their own research at Centro, please feel free to make an appointment. We'll put the link to the appointment form in the chat. And then you can make an appointment and come visit us at Centro to view any of the over 20,000 books that I have behind me, or any of the over 300 collections that we have in our archive.
Trust
And
me, you'll
everything
find
in
something.
between. You'll
Yeah.
definitely find something. There's something for everybody at Centro.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you know, we say that your history is here, so definitely come check out your own history. And again, we're open Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And we're on the Silberman School for Social Work on the ground floor. We're open to the public, so please feel free to come through. And we also have the Ida y Vuelta exhibition that is also
Yes.
open. So like while you're getting a bonus feature
Stop by there.
you can
It's amazing.
you can top off on all this great Puerto Rican art. Cool. There's a Max Colon photo exhibition on one of the walls, and like some really interesting installations. So please come through. And with that, Leenda, thanks
Yes.
again.
Thank you,
Everyone, have a
Anibal.
great rest of your day. Thank you for taking an opportunity to spend your lunch hour with us here at the library and the archive. Have a
Yes.
good day. Bye.
Thank you. Take care, everybody. Bon matum.